Have you ever found yourself saying, I'm a good husband, I work hard, I provide for my family, I give her everything? It doesn't make sense that she would still choose to walk away. But when you truly understand what it means to be a high value man, you start to realize what you've been offering and what these red pill coaches tell you is actually still pretty low value in her eyes. So in this video, I'm going to show you how the current I'm a good provider mindset is very outdated, why it backfires in the modern world, and what a modern high value woman really needs from her partner. And after working with thousands of clients for close to a decade, I can say with certainty that what I'm about to teach you is going to be very different than what you've been hearing out there, but it's the only way to guarantee you become the irreplaceable man she chooses to come back to. So let's start by getting on the same page about what people usually picture when they think of a high value man. And like I said, I'm not talking about the whole red pill, millionaire, baller image of a high value man, like the Andrew Tates of the world, although this applies to them as well. I'm talking about the everyday guy, the one raised to believe his worth comes from working hard, paying the bills, and putting a roof over the family's head. The guy who thinks that providing is enough. And a lot of you might be thinking right now, what's wrong with that? Shouldn't those things be good for my family? Shouldn't I do those things? Absolutely, you should. But here's the crucial point. While providing is necessary, it's no longer sufficient. Let me show you what I mean. This is Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You've probably seen this before or have a vague idea of what it is. But to put it simply, it's one of the many models to describe human motivation. It shows that we all have different layers of needs. And once the lower ones are met, we naturally evolve to seek the higher ones. For example, when I first came to this country with pretty much nothing, all I cared about were the basics in life. Survival was my only goal. But as time went on, those lower level needs were met, so I stopped operating from a survival mindset, which meant my focus naturally shifted towards the higher level goals like growth, like purpose, becoming my best self. But here's the thing, most men never make that same shift in their relationships. In fact, you can see very clearly here, the value that a lot of men think is their responsibility to offer only covers the first layer, this physiological survival needs, and maybe at best some of the second layer safety needs. I mean, have you ever heard of the red pill dudes talk about these higher pillars? No, I've never seen that before. They just completely ignore the fact that we live in the year 2025, not 1965. That we live in a world where most people, regardless of gender, can actually earn their own money, take themselves on vacation, buy their own nice things, get the car, get the house, and they can empower themselves to fulfill these lower pillars on their own. You know, my wife used to tell me all the time, Jeff, I don't need a sugar daddy or a handyman. I can make my own money and take care of myself. What I want is something I can't give and provide for myself. Emotional, spiritual, and deeper fulfillment. Now, some of you may be thinking right now, dang dude, like women are so high maintenance these days. It's so difficult to please women these days. If you're saying this in your head, this is actually a good sign that you may be one of those people who are not able to provide these higher level values. Why do I say that? Because providing these higher level values, it doesn't actually take additional work. Like you're still having the same interactions, you're still having the same conversations, and you're still spending the same number of hours but with your loved ones. To provide these requires you to change the how you deal with those moments. So if you're thinking that thought earlier, the odds are very low that you're actually providing these higher level values, because how can you provide something that you don't even appreciate, that you don't even value or understand? So if you did think that, and if you have been using this lower level pillars to justify why she should spend her one and only life with you, this should be a real wake-up call for you. I mean, again, look at this pyramid and tell me that you would be happy spending the rest of your life having only your needs met to the lowest levels. And so is it any wonder that your partner would want to leave and see what else the world has to offer if you're only giving her those lower level values? Do you really expect her to live and die having never truly experienced the highest levels of this pyramid? Now I want to show you what these higher levels actually look like. But first, a quick plug, because while a lot of what I'm showing you is going to be super helpful, I could never create a YouTube video long enough to cover everything you need to know. And we've worked extensively over the last 10 years to craft and refine our program, giving you the most robust processes and tools to take you from awareness of the principles to action, to actually living them, to actually making them your lifestyle. And in this program, we break down the exact steps, the mindset shifts, the communication skills that help you transcend the basic provider model and create an environment where those higher level values can flourish. So if you're ready to go beyond the basics, click the link in the description for more details on how to enroll. Okay, so love and belonging, esteem, and self-actualization. What does that all actually mean? Well, belonging is simply about the deep emotional connection and feeling truly seen, safe, understood. And esteem is not just about feeling valued for what you do, but for who you are. And self-actualization is about growth and becoming the best version of yourself. And chances are, your partner has been trying to express her desire for these higher levels for years. You know, one of the best examples of this is partners say they want more intimacy, for example, which a lot of men conflate with sex. They want more sex. But intimacy comes in many wonderful forms, such as emotional intimacy, which involves sharing your feelings, fears, dreams, and vulnerabilities with each other and feeling understood and supported. There's also intellectual intimacy, which is about connecting through meaningful conversations, sharing thoughts, and engaging in deep discussions. There is experiential intimacy, which comes from shared activities, creating memories together, traveling, cooking, or just spending quality time. But because you're locked into this faulty, high-value red pill paradigm, a lot of men are completely oblivious to what she's really asking for, and so have no real chance of ever creating this higher level pillars with her. So you just keep doubling down on that provider narrative, which makes her feel like you don't get it. So she pulls away and she gets more frustrated, and you interpret her actions incorrectly, her pulling away incorrectly. And so you feel unappreciated and you feel attacked also. You get angry also, and you respond poorly also. And this actually happened to me, or almost happened to me. I've been lucky enough to be in a position in my life where I could provide a lot for my wife. You know, we had our dream wedding. We have a beautiful house. We take amazing vacations, and we've been privileged enough to fulfill a lot of the material needs and wants that we have. But there was this one moment I'll never forget, right? It was just after we came back from a 3-month trip in the UK, and I saw that she was a bit upset. So I asked her what was going on. And she said she was upset because I never bought her this particular bracelet that she's been hinting at me to buy. And honestly, for those of you who don't know me very well, I'm very unmaterialistic. So I live well below my means, I think. So at first my mind went to the place of thinking, doesn't she appreciate everything I do? What an ungrateful bitch. What a gold digger kind of thing. And if I had run that narrative, I could have seriously jeopardized our relationship. But instead I chose to get curious. I asked myself, what's really going on here? And after we talked deeply, I realized it was never about the bracelet. The real problem was that while we were in the UK, because of the 6-hour time difference, so whenever it was like 6 p.m. in UK, it would be 12 p.m. in the US. So because of the time difference between UK and Houston, I was spending a lot of evenings working and communicating with my team here in the US. And throughout the whole 3-month trip, she was missing a ton of emotional and spiritual intimacy, because here I was during dinner, for example, I would be texting, I'll be taking phone calls, whatever it is. And not only was I blind to it because I was so focused on what I was providing, I thought to myself, well, I'm giving her so much in this trip already. Sure, like a text here and there shouldn't really matter. But it's also because she also struggled to tell me what she really needed, because she felt guilty for wanting more too. Like asking for intimacy felt really silly when she already had everything she was supposed to want. So her frustration over the bracelet was the only way she knew how to say she needed more attention and connection. But because I understood the importance of finding what we call in our program, the thing behind the thing, looking past the surface issues to the deeper need, the conversation became a positive turning point, because that conversation allowed me to understand her better, for her to feel safe opening up to me, and for both of us to learn how to meet those higher level needs for each other in a better way. Basically, we took that trauma of her being upset, and we took that from a post-traumatic stress moment into a post-traumatic growth moment. We actually grew stronger because she was upset about that bracelet. But imagine if I had not known that there may be the thing behind the thing. Imagine if I ran with my frustration. So imagine an alternate universe where I ran with my frustration, that she was this ungrateful bitch. We would have taken the same trauma and gone through, instead of PTSD, post-traumatic growth, we would have gone through PTSD. It would just crumble us. She would feel unheard and unsafe, basically thinking in her head, this is what happens when I tell Jeff my thoughts and feelings. I would still be lost as to what the real issue was, and we would probably still be fighting, and we might even have broken up. And worse, I've been out there feeling justified and vindicated, that never realizing just how wrong I really was. This conversation that we had, which probably lasted 2 or 3 hours, was not additional time. In the route that we took to PTSG, for example, when we had a productive conversation, that took 2 or 3 hours. But if we didn't have that, we would have been fighting for 2 or 3 hours. So again, it doesn't take additional time to provide this higher level value. So now that you understand why the provider model is outdated and how it causes you to leave so much higher level value on the table, let me show you why you will not be able to catch yourself in those critical moments like I did, unless you start to change the relationship with yourself. You see, the way you see the world shapes what you're able to notice. And right now, it's probably causing you to miss many opportunities to post-traumatically grow with your partner. So here are 3 key steps we need to start changing that. First, we have to work on our internal shifts. This means changing the story, the narratives that we tell ourselves, stepping out of the victim mindset and shifting our focus to what truly matters. And it's exactly because I had a process like this in place that the bracelet situation didn't spiral into damaging my relationship. By using what we call auto-suggestions to reprogram how I see conflicts like this, I'm able to ensure that these narratives, like thinking she's just being ungrateful, for example, or that what I can provide should be enough and are not allowed to go unchecked. I don't remain a slave to my mind viruses, and instead, I can take a step back, take a different approach, and create post-traumatic growth in my relationship. So once you have the systems in place, you can then start to focus on unjamming yourself, or what we call expanding your band of operation. You see, most of us stay very stuck in this narrow definition of what we are, of who we are, of what we can do, and we need to expand our band of operation, which means instead of saying, that's not me, you say, fuck yes, let's explore this side of me, of myself, further. And this can apply to so many traits: introvert or extrovert, logical or emotional, or in my case, masculine, feminine. See, for most of my life, right, I operated from a very masculine frame, very masculine energy. So I was decisive, logical, and focused on solving problems, which made me a rock star in my career, my work. But in my relationship, where empathy, emotional presence, and intuition, all feminine energy, was needed, I was severely lacking. And that imbalance made me great at providing those lower level needs, but terrible. Like, I was terrible at creating those higher level ones. So I started to deliberately practice emotional attunement. For example, letting myself be more vulnerable, looking inward to understand what has been blocking me from connecting myself with my more sensitive side, and also began to embody my feminine side, not just by becoming less masculine, but by expanding my range, allowing me to start creating higher level pillars in my relationship. And that is another massive part of what I teach my clients, so they can start to unlock basically their own character, because true freedom and power is not about embracing who you are. Your likes and dislikes is about being able to become whoever you need to become to accomplish whatever you need to accomplish. And this leads me to my third thing, which is also that when you expand your band of operation, it also allows you to change your definition of what value means. So like I said, a huge part of becoming a truly high value is also realizing that it's not enough to justify the lower pillars. But there's another piece that most people miss, because the real value here isn't just your product, it's your process. It's not who you are today, it's the trajectory that you are on. So let me explain here. Imagine you hire 3 people. So person 1 is highly skilled but dismissive. They don't really take feedback, they defend their mistakes, and they stop growing. So basically, good product, bad process for growth. Person 2 is unskilled and defensive. So no growth, no curiosity, bad product, bad process. Person 3 starts with less skill, but is humble, eager to learn, and open to feedback. So again, low product, but very good process, very high trajectory. Who would you bet on long term? For me, as an entrepreneur, focusing on the long term, I would obviously bet on person 3, because that trajectory is steep. And it's the same in relationships. It's why we always say too, reconciliation doesn't happen when you become the perfect product. It happens when you master the perfect process. Your partner doesn't need you to never make mistakes. She needs to see that when you do, you're self-aware, you are humbled enough, and you're committed to that growth. And that's what creates safety, trust, and that momentum. So think back to the bracelet story. If I had tried to defend my perfect product, that moment would have pushed my wife further away. But instead, I leaned into my process of curiosity. So first, I had the internal shift to create the environment of safety that allows the both of us to spot the issues quickly, especially myself, and allow the issues to be revealed quickly. Second, once the issues are known, we can lead the interactions based on strong internals to be able to create safety, understanding, and find win-wins. And third, because our interactions allowed us to go very deep, for both of us to understand the issue deeply, and thus the solutions deeply as well, we have the right process to ensure the same mistakes or issues never occurs twice. And that's the paradox most men miss. Chasing perfection kills growth, but embracing the process guarantees growth. This philosophy is the foundation of everything that we teach. It's why our clients see transformations most people think are impossible. All right, so let's bring all of this together. We've talked about how the good provider model is outdated and how shifting to an intrinsic value mindset is the real game changer. We've also explored the higher levels of connection that your partner truly craves. And we've connected that to how becoming truly high value is about embracing those internal shifts and really focusing on process over outcome. Now here's the next big question. How do you actually let your partner start seeing and feeling this new version of you? How do you allow her to truly experience the changes you're making and recognize that you're not just putting on a show, but you're genuinely evolving. You have become this new person. And that's where we move into building the 5 pillars of the relationship mountain. So each pillar, again, helps create this environment where she can truly sense and feel this new you and feel safe, reconnecting at this deeper level. So watch the next video where I'll show you exactly how to start building those 5 pillars so you can create this environment built on deep intrinsic value and empowerment so that she actually chooses to come back to you.